He's a massive anarchist. I mean, sure.
Blood and
To keep the
rust.
strait open and safe. We've already destroyed 100% of Iran's military capability, but it's easy for them to send a
I
drone.
don't think Robert Evans hates me. We do have some disagreements,
Alright, let's
though.
keep these Titans alive.
Reuters confirmed the Cuba story? Of course, dude. Of course. The whole point of this is literally economic strangulation in order to fucking piss off the people, activate reactionary forces in the country, and then make it seem like there is a tremendous amount of discontent against the government. Okay? Piss off the people, frustrate them enough, strangle them enough, and some of them will actually fucking do some damage. Use that symbolistic damage to say, oh, we have to do regime change in Cuba. Hello, we just walked through this with Iran. We're actually still in this with Iran.
Ooh, okay.
Of course Reuters gonna fucking confirm it. It works in line with American State Department interests in Cuba.
Drone or two, drop a mine, or deliver a close-range missile somewhere along or in this waterway, no matter how badly defeated they are. Hopefully China, France, Japan, South Korea, the UK, and others that are affected by this artificial constraint will send ships to the area so that the Hormuz Strait will no longer be a threat by a nation that has been totally decapitated. In the meantime, the United States will be bombing.
Yeah, that was beautiful. The China mention there is incredible. Saying hopefully China will militarily help us open the Strait of Hormuz. Brother, give up on that. Just give up at that point, dude. What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Come on, China, please. What if I ask nicely? You love trade, don't you?
The hell out of the shoreline and continually shooting Iranian boats and ships out of the water. One way or the other, we will soon get the Hormuz Strait open, safe, and free. Signed President Donald J. Trump, and his latest message,
yes, safe.
just a few minutes ago on Truth Social.
Jeffrey, we have just heard from the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Mustafa Khamenei. His statement was the first since he was elected by the Assembly of Experts. It was read on Iranian television. He called for unity among Iranians, and he said the martyrs will be avenged. And he also called on all U.S. bases in the Persian Gulf to be closed immediately, or they will continue to be attacked. He said the Strait.
For the record, Popular Front, the magazine, does regime propaganda in a much better way than like all these other fucking, you know,
internal battery restoration.
Okay? The same interest still remains. Okay, it's a magazine, it's edgy, it's cool, it's hip. They go to the front lines. They might even at times
unknown alloy from metal plating.
With, like, anti-American government forces. Okay. But when push comes to shove, they'll spit out the same fucking regime change bullshit. The same exact, oh, well, these guys are demanding freedom, we must liberate them. Regime change bullshit in the exact same intensity that Vice News does.
Yeah. So Hormuz, that vital sea route, will remain closed. Seems like he's taking a very hard line, not in the mood for any kind of compromise or negotiation. Given that, where do you see this heading?
Well, what kind of negotiation? Iran tried to negotiate twice. Both times it was bombed.
This is 1.8
consumption
million
from
views
the outside.
in America. 1.8 million views in one day. My go Jeffrey is popping.
By Israel and the United States. Iran is under a absolutely brutal attack. It's under carpet bombing. The U.S. and Israel are destroying infrastructure. They murdered this man's father and the leaders of the Iranian government. They are killing thousands of people. So exactly what is to be negotiated? This is a brutal war of aggression.
Yeah, Hanrahan does have a lot of default liberal interventionist takes, but sometimes covers interesting topics. He's where I originally learned about order and nine angles. Yeah, That's exactly how.
Corrosive materials.
That's exactly how nefarious propaganda, the most dangerous type of propaganda, works. Like.
Alrighty then. Piece of shit.
Robert Evans, my other things understander. I don't think he hates you, bro. Yeah, I mean, Robert Evans and I also have disagreements on certain issues. I mean, he's also had some takes that I find strange and confusing, or in line with like American interests at times. But Jake Hanrahan is like the classic. Jake Hanrahan absolutely is the classic, like, oh, I'm super fucking edgy. I'm an anarchist. I'm edgy. I have the morally consistent position. Yeah, Robert also has some Fed takes every now and then. But yeah, State Department anarchists. And then we find out when the information is declassified. I'm talking about Jake Hanrahan. When the information is declassified 20 fucking years later, and you're like, wow, I can't believe it. Gloria Steinem? No way. I can't believe it. Jake Hanrahan was getting paid by, I don't know, the National Department of Spreading Democracy and Public Services.
Oh shit, there's no going back.
Which is like branched under the fucking State Department by way of numerous subsidiaries and private donors that make it seem as though this is like a totally legitimate thing that they're achieving.
There should be a control interface nearby.
By Israel and the United States, and Iran is responding. And it's not surprising that they are responding. They're under threat of conquest, basically. That was what Trump said, that he would pick the new leader, that Israel and the United States would run Iran. Well, the Iranian people have a different view, clearly. They're showing up by the millions to say that they don't want to be run by the United States and Israel.
Right, and President Trump is also claiming that...
Hassan is also a Fed, by the way. Yeah. How much does, Israel yell at the likes of Jake Hanrahan? I think that's a pretty clear-cut way of figuring out if someone's a fucking federal agent or not, don't you think?
Oh, hello, I'm gonna die.
The United States has won this war. That's what he says. Yet we see the missile attacks continue by Iran, by Israel, by the United States. I mean, do you envision any scenario in which the United States can declare victory when we don't even know what its objective is?
Well, yes, I see a scenario where they could declare victory. Trump does so.
Yeah, I'm funded by you, the people, for you, the people. That's it. The Piker Broadcasting Service is funded by you, the people, for you, the people. No National Endowment of Democracy, no State Department funding, none of that shit, okay? And it's all transparent. It's above board. You know exactly what it is, okay? Piker Broadcasting Service, for you, funded by you, the people, for you, the people. For tomorrow's news today.
He says things for the immediate moment, or for show, or because he believes them. We're never absolutely sure which it is. But is there a way to real victory by the United States? No, this is a disaster for the United States. It is a disaster for the whole world. The U.S. and Israel have thrown the entire world into turmoil.
Stabby squirrel.
Perhaps into World War III. This was a brazen, violent, ill thought out, to say the least, move by these two countries, and now we're all suffering the consequences of this.
You say we could be in World War III. There are already more than a dozen countries involved in this conflict, most of them in the Persian Gulf. Do you see it expand to other parts of the world as well?
Well, the United States is at war in many places. It is at war in the Western Hemisphere. It invaded Venezuela. It's talking openly about invading Cuba, which it's currently blockading.
Damn it.
Trump just
5.
met with Latin American leaders and talked about other military operations in the Western Hemisphere. Trump has threatened to invade Greenland. The United States is still heavily engaged in war with Russia in Ukraine. We have war spreading through the Middle East. Israel is invading more countries. We have the war of Pakistan and Afghanistan taking place. We don't know, but it could be that when we look back even in weeks or months, we say, yes, World War III has started. But the United States is so reckless, so irresponsible, and led by such a delusional president right now that I'm sorry to say that anything is possible.
There are more than 1,500 Iranians who've been killed in this conflict so far, but we're also facing another crisis, that is an energy crisis. The world is facing an energy crisis right now. Oil prices are spiking. Energy experts say the full impact of this is yet to come, and we've just heard from the International Energy Agency, which says that this is the worst energy supply disruption in history. How will this affect and impact the global economy?
The way it's going, this year will be an economic catastrophe if this continues, and it looks like it will.
I need people to understand something really important here. The very same forces that really wanted Donald Trump to win, that also made sure that, like, the Democratic Party side was also pliant to the necessities or the needs of Israel, Biden and Kamala Harris, are currently spending tens of millions of fucking dollars trying to do their very best to make sure that anti-Israel candidates are not fucking elected into office. Kada Abugzalik in Illinois 9, and virtually every other DSA-endorsed candidate all around the country are currently having to wage war against tens of millions of dollars in outside donations coming from a foreign government, okay? Eventually, people are going to realize, like, we don't want this.
That guy doesn't sound stable.
Democrats have to get ahead of that, okay? Right now, they're leaning into it. Democrats in the party in positions of power, okay, are leaning into this. They're leaning into it because they also don't want the outsider left-flank candidates to take their positions of power. They think this PAC money is fine for the time being, okay? What they fail to realize is, one, it's totally not fine, and two, this is the reason why we have Donald Trump in power already. It's this uncontrollable faucet of pro-Israel money and the whipping mechanism that they've created for Democrats in positions of power, Republicans in positions of power, that make American foreign policy Israel first, that rip away the standards of war, the conduct that we have designed to make sure that we have at least some stability while we dominate the world because we wrote those rules. Now Israel is basically saying, no, fuck those rules. You can't ever oppose us at the ICC. America says, okay, we'll sanction the ICC. You can't ever oppose us at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. America says, okay, we'll destroy the International Court of Justice. This can't continue. You can't go... You can't continue existing like this, okay?
Okay.
Ripping apart the standards of warfare, the rules of law, international human rights, in this flagrant of a manner, at the behest of a foreign nation state, is going to have unimaginable consequences.
Continue. We know that there are
Missed.
massive disruptions
Oh, hello, friend.
of oil supply. That's the point that the International Energy Agency just made. We know that only selective tankers are passing through the Strait of Hormuz.
Why do leftist commentators often imply that only great powers have agency, for example, by describing any revanchist invasion as a proxy war? Because it is. It's true. Like, nationalistic ambitions aside, which I think Putin has plenty of, it still is a proxy war because it cuts away at American dominance in the region. There's a difference why Belarus is not, whereas Ukraine is. You're a great power. You have security needs and making sure that you have control over your own backyard. That's just how the world works. I don't agree with it either, I want every country to have sovereignty. I want every nation to have dignity, Ukraine included. And Vladimir Putin does have a ultra-nationalist goal here for sure. Some mystical, spiritual bullshit, right? Rebuilding the might of the Russian Empire, or the might that the USSR had, right?
Reinforcements on your six.
This is certainly true. There's truth to it. But at the end of the day, the way this works is Ukrainian sovereignty is not really a part of the equation. Bro, stop calling Putin nationalist. It's insane propaganda. You've completely lost the plot. I mean, there's no world where you consider Ukraine to be anything but a proxy war, right? At this point, I mean, it's the entire Western forces backing Ukraine versus Russia, and you know, some limited aid from DPRK, China, Iran.
Come on, get closer.
Pretty wild to consider it as anything but a proxy at this point. What, you think Zelensky finds himself constantly writing for Israel, even if it's not beneficial for his interest, because he just really loves Israel? You think that's the reason? You can take her out. No, Zelensky knows what role he has to play. That's why he's playing the role of a proxy.
Oh boy.
Maybe Zelensky's a fan. Also, come on, man. You really gonna say Vladimir Putin's not a nationalist? That's wild. Yeah, he doesn't have any nationalistic ambitions of like rebuilding Russia into a great power, really?
Fuck.
Like,
well, that didn't work.
his actions can still be read as like striking a blow because he's crazy enough to fight back militarily again and deliver blows to the power that the Western superpowers have. But to say that there's no nationalistic ambition there in his irredentist actions against Ukraine, like Crimea is different, right? I've said this before. Crimea is a totally separate equation, and a lot of people have yelled at me for years over it, right? Like, it's great for Ukraine to want to maintain Crimea as a part of its territory, but like the people that were living there certainly were not as angry as like the people in the eastern territories that had to be fucking evacuated. But as far as like,
oof.
What about the Donbass? I mean, Vladimir Putin was fine with using LPR and DPR as like autonomous territories to involve himself in the regular affairs of Ukrainian day-to-day existence, and to make sure that like there isn't a significant amount of Western influence inside of Ukraine.
How do we do this?
At least according to what he has said, but I think that calculation has changed for him, don't you think? That was the whole point of the Minsk agreements.
Those that Iran is
Am I just
allowing
stuck in this part of
China
the map?
and reportedly for India.
Nah, I can.
But we know that there
Figure
is a
something out.
dramatic decline in availability of both natural gas and oil.
There we go.
And history has shown, especially in the 1970s, when there were two such oil supply disruptions, that the consequences for the world economy are extremely severe, sharp, and relatively rapid in arriving. So I think we're in for a very, very significant global crisis brought to you by Israel and the United States.
One strategy the Iranians are using, and some call it an asymmetric strategy,
I'm the
is
same
to
place.
hit
I
US
went in
Persian
circles.
Gulf allies, many of which host United States bases, of course. Iran is hurting their economies by targeting their oil supplies and oil infrastructure. It's also
I've been here
targeting
before.
energy industries. What do you make of this strategy by Iran and its effectiveness?
Well, Iran has been hit repeatedly by the United States and Israel, actually for decades. We can go back to 1953 when the United States deposed a democratically elected prime minister and brought in a police state for several decades. We can go to the war that the United States supported against Iran by Iraq in the 1980s. We can go to a long list of assassinations by Mossad and the CIA in recent years. What Iran is saying is we are under attack. This is existential, and the countries in the Gulf.
How do you look at the way that Crimea came to be populated by Russians to begin with? Don't you think forced deportation during Stalin? Brother. That is far that is so far outside of the scope of like Ukraine versus Russia. What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, I acknowledge the Russification that took place in Crimea. But what the fuck are we talking about? That has nothing to, like, what? The Ukrainian ambition here is to repopulate Crimea with the Tatar population? Is that what you're trying to say? Or do you think it's more so for making sure that Russia doesn't have a strategic foothold into the fucking Black Sea where the Sevastopol base is?
Whoever you are. Not bad at all, friend. I just hope you're better than the last one I killed.
Because Ukrainians aren't fucking Crimean Tatars. Like, that's crazy.
Oh.
By hosting the enemy of our country that is trying to destroy us are part of this war against us. Now, Iran has said, and the new supreme leader has said, that this is not a war against the neighbors. It is a war against the United States, which is trying to destroy Iran. And just listen to any of the words of Trump or Netanyahu. It's not hidden. It's very, very brazen. Who will run Iran? Trump or the Iranians? This is what's at stake. So from the Iranian position, this is existential. If the world stood up and told Mr. Trump, go home, you're not going to pick the supreme leader, and said to Netanyahu, live within your borders, stop making so many wars in the region, it would help us to get past this very, very dire crisis.
To what extent did both the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as President Trump underestimate the Iranian military, not just its battlefield effectiveness, but also the strategies that it is using? It is taking on two countries, both nuclear-armed countries, in this conflict, vastly superior military forces.
The United States, during my entire lifetime, which is getting on, has underestimated its adversaries from Vietnam onward. The United States repeatedly has declared victory in days or weeks, only to find that the wars extended years or decades, with the United States crawling back home afterwards, having failed in all of its stated objectives and having squandered trillions of dollars and cost hundreds of thousands of lives. So this is very common. Yes, they completely misjudged Iran. Totally. They said so. That this would be one decapitation strike, that people would come out on the streets against the regime, Trump would pick the new leader. This is the fantasy world of American leaders, especially Trump, has the most delusional perspective of all. But we've had many presidents that are quite delusional in this regard. They are so drunk with military power that they completely misjudge the rest of the world.
As I mentioned, more than 1,500 Iranians have been killed in the conflict so far. That also includes 168 school children who were killed in perhaps the most egregious of those attacks when their school was attacked in the south of the country. Preliminary investigations show that the United States was responsible for killing those children. It was one of its missiles that landed on that school. We look at South Lebanon, where the Israelis have been bombing the Lebanese there. 200 children have been killed there. And I was wondering, to what extent or how great is the risk, the likelihood that we could see Israel do to Tehran and Iran what it has done in Gaza?
Yes, Israel has committed a genocide in Gaza because its doctrine is kill its adversaries, kill them in mass numbers, kill the civilians, kill the women, kill the children.
That was a reach.
This is the Israeli doctrine of war. They don't discriminate between civilians and military targets. They leveled Gaza. They destroyed all its infrastructure. They destroyed all the schools, the clinics, the mosques, the hospitals, the housing, the water, the sanitation. And we don't know the full death toll, but it almost surely is in the hundreds of thousands if you take not only the bodies that have been collected, which come to around 80,000, and those under the rubble, but people who have died of exposure, of lack of safe water, of nutrition, lack of access to health care, and so forth. This is a brutal regime. I'm sorry to say it. It's terrible. It is a rogue, brutal regime. It's doing the same in Lebanon now, and it's doing the same with its carpet bombing of Tehran in Iran. And the world needs to stand up and stop accepting this as something even remotely normal or acceptable. Israel needs to go home and live within its own borders and get its head together again, because it's acting in a completely insane way. It needs to stop this. This is mass murder with U.S. complicity. So this is something that absolutely needs to stop.
I will remind people
okay, well, I'm just going in circles.
Camps were not the reason why the Allied forces fought against Nazi Germany. As a matter of fact, there was limited information readily available about the existence of concentration camps, and a lot of the intelligence that suggested that these camps existed, these death camps that existed, were not mass distributed to the population. They didn't know. Obviously, the German society understood what was going on, but broadly speaking, the Allied forces only found out after. It was actually the endless expansionist appetite from Nazi Germany to create living room, to create living space for the superior Aryan nation, from their estimation, that caused these forces to mount in opposition.
Okay, you're there. That's where I need to be.
Do with that information what you will, if you want to analyze the current predicament that's taking place in front of us right now.
As you point out, the world needs to stand up and stop this, but when we look at the number of children, for instance, that have been killed, and the fact that it's not receiving wide attention in the media, I mean, is there also a danger that the killing, the murder of children in this way, mass murder, as you point out, is being normalized?
It has been normalized because, at least in my country, in the United States, and in much of Europe, and thanks to CGTN for telling the news as it really is, our so-called legacy media or mainstream media do not report the truth. And we are subject to so much propaganda all the time, so much normalization. It's beyond imagining for me. I attended a UN Security Council meeting a week ago, the day, more than a week ago, the day that the bombing started. And what did all the Western countries do? They attacked Iran for being bombed. You know, this is propaganda. This is so-called narrative control. So yes, mass murder has been normalized. You're told, oh, if you say that Israel committed a genocide, oh, that's anti-Semitic. It's not only not anti-Semitic, it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It is the grim reality that needs to be understood so that it doesn't continue to happen.
President Trump is not discounting the option of a land invasion, and of course this recalls the Iraq invasion. But if we look at Iran, Iran is much bigger. It's a mountainous country. It will not be an easy country for anyone who invades on the ground. I mean, this could result in massive U.S. casualties, couldn't it?
Oof.
I don't believe it. I think Trump is full of it in general, and I don't believe this can happen. You know, when the Iraq War happened, the American people were lied to relentlessly. We know it wasn't an error of judgment or doubt. It was direct lies, propaganda, that there were weapons of mass destruction that needed to be taken out. It was the excuse for war. At that time, the American people supported the war. Now, the American people are completely against what Donald Trump is doing. And that opposition will rise over time as their gas prices go up and as their incomes go down and as their jobs disappear and so on. So for Trump even to think about putting troops on the ground, the political explosion that would happen in the United States would be absolutely enormous. So he's just facing the fact that every miscalculation has come to pass because he's delusional.
Okay.
INC security forces.
So,
I guess that's why they pay me the big bucks. You want something done right? You do it yourself.
couple problems with this.
Scrubs, enough's enough.
Oh.
Last guy who also thought America wouldn't allow Israel to behave like this, his name was Hassan Nasrallah. Okay? And maybe even down to his final moments where he was like, oh, well, inevitably American restraint will kick in, right? Because Israel's like really fucking up the bag for them.
I guess that's why they pay me the big bucks. You want something done right? You do it yourself.
So no, I want to say this seems utterly insane. There is some positive signs coming from the Israeli government that they're also leaning into a softer approach. Because even Israel is now saying, well, you know, maybe we're just going to like cripple the Iranian government. Maybe we're going to weaken it. We're not going to like destabilize it, right? But I still do worry that Israel can get America to behave in whichever way they want to.
I guess that's why they pay me the big bucks. You want something done right?
No matter what the consequences are.
All right, scrubs, enough's enough. I'm coming down.
Because he has no strategy. Because the whole group of them has no strategy. But I do not believe that there will be boots on the ground because, as you say, it would be a disaster and it would start in the stark opposition of the American people.
When we look at the U.S. history of military assaults, invasions, assassinations, just in the past 25 years, it's left a trail of mass death and destruction. How would you describe the damage and destruction the U.S. has left in the wake of what's been referred to as the Americans' forever wars?
Well, 30 years ago, Benjamin Netanyahu, when he became Prime Minister of Israel, with his American advisors, launched a project called Clean Break. The idea of Clean Break, everyone should understand, is to prevent
weak points vulnerable to
a state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel. So it's based on a criminality because it is international law that there needs to be a state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel. But the purpose of Clean Break was to say any government in the Middle East or North Africa or the Horn of Africa that supports the Palestinian cause and supports resistance, we're going to overthrow. And that is why there are so many wars. Because Greater Israel delusion of Netanyahu and the American complicity has led to wars in Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and now Iran. That's part of the doctrine. And it's crazy Instead of just having a Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel, according to international law, we have wars across the Middle East that have claimed hundreds of thousands, millions, most likely, of lives, and have gone on for 30 years now.
Professor Jeffrey Sachs, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
No.
John Mearsheimer, thank you for joining us on Upfront.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Just goat talk, goat after goat.
Thank you for having me.
You recently argued that the Trump administration was, quote, dragged into this war by Israel and its lobby. What makes you believe Israel is the primary driver of this conflict rather than Washington?
Well, it's quite clear that Israel has been trying to drive the United States into a war with Iran for a long time. They've made their interests perfectly clear. This is true of Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has been a huge advocate of sucking the Americans into this war. And he was unable to do that until President Trump came along. And it's quite clear, if you listen to President
Trump 1, not even Trump 2. Real ball knowers know. Real ball knowers know. Biden obviously also helped accelerate it a lot. But Trump 1 was insane. Abraham Accords, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, permanently recognizing the permanent annexation of Golan Heights.
Somebody help me.
Holy moly, he gave everything and then some to Israel.
God damn, my head hurts.
Totally rewriting decades of American foreign policy that many of these dipshits on the fucking Democratic Party side also wanted, but didn't actually lean into for good reason. Because the consequences would have been devastating. The consequences being October fucking 7, okay? The consequences being this war that we're currently waging. Americans at least had enough decency and enough of a fucking analytical capability to comprehend that leaning into Israel's Greater Israel Project would have been devastating for every other fucking country in the region, devastating for America, devastating for everyone, right? Donald Trump is a fucking moron and was like, well, these guys gave me a lot of money. Fuck it, we ball. Straight up. I've said this for years at this point. Trump 1 was a major issue. I said it even initially with Biden. I said Biden should have reversed Trump's policies if he wanted to restore some kind of control over America's MENA policy. You had to fucking bring Israel to heel. Okay? It's not money, it's pedo cover. Yeah, I don't give a shit, okay? Sure, he's a pedophile, yes. They're all pedophiles. Fuck them. We're not talking about like speculation on like what the motivating principle is here. What matters is not what motivates them. What matters is the outcome. What matters is the action.
President Trump, and you listen to his advisors speak, the Israeli influence and the influence of the lobby on President Trump was enormous. In fact, Secretary of State Rubio effectively said, as did Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, that we went to war because Israel dragged us into this war.
But critics say that this framing overstates Israel's influence over the United States while understating the United States' influence, which includes military dominance. That's one of the strategic interests, military dominance in the region, access to gas reserves and energy routes. The U.S. was also active in the Middle East long before the Israeli lobby became influential in U.S. politics. What do you say to that?
There's no question that the United States has been deeply interested in the Middle East for a long time, even before Israel was created as a state in 1948. And the principal reason for that was oil. But we're not going to war against Iran because of oil. We're not participating in the genocide against the Palestinians because of oil. This is being largely done as a result of Israel's influence in the United States, which is largely a function of the Israel lobby. The question you want to ask yourself is, if we had a national interest in supporting Israeli policies towards the Palestinians, towards Iran, towards Iraq, and so forth and so on, why would you need a lobby? Why would you need this lobby that by almost all accounts is by far the most powerful lobby in the history of the United States? Why do you need it if Israel is based?
By the way, this is why Mearsheimer is the GOAT and has a principled stance on this. And even though a lot of people who read him will be like, oh, he's doing Zog, he's doing Zog.
Where the hell did he go?
Like, this is correct. This is also my argument as well. When I always tell you, like, if there was organized Jewry, if Jews were monolithic in their understanding of Israel, then Israel would not be spending billions of fucking dollars trying to break the minds of every young Jew in the West by consistently telling them, like, oh, without Israel, you're going to be under fire, you're going to be killed. Israel's awesome. The Holocaust was terrifying, which it was, but also the Jews during the Holocaust were weak. Israel, on the other hand, is strong. Never again means never again for us. Not for anybody else, really, just for us. Never again means we have to be strong always. And by strong, I mean we have to genocide the people around us. Right? No people
barely
are
getting
monolithic
started
in
with
general.
this guy.
Right?
Yep.
But that's the whole point. If Americans were this, like, involved with Israel, if they, I mean, aside from the Christian evangelicals who are fucking crazy, and even they are not monolithic, but, like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, they also are constantly fucking brain breaking themselves. But if that was the case, then there would be no need for this fucking lobbying apparatus, and there would be no need for Zionist education in this country.
Basically doing our bidding. The fact is, you have this incredibly powerful lobby because it is not in the American national interest to support Israel in...
I don't even care about the everyday Jewish American. Of course not, dude. What are you talking about? What? No. The everyday Jewish American is just a loyal soldier for Israel from their perspective. That's why they want them to not be in America. They want them to be in Israel. Okay? What the fuck do you think Birthright is? Again, another institution that is backed by hundreds of millions of dollars in donations from very wealthy donors, many of which are Christian evangelicals, by the way, ironically enough, that has the sole purpose of bringing young American Jews into Israel and getting them to fuck IDF soldiers so they stay in fucking Israel. That's the whole purpose of Birthright. It's the most psychotic operation of all time. That's literally it. And it's so funny because, like, most people that have participated in Birthright know it. Either they know it and they understand it and they like it, or they know it and understand it and don't like it. But everybody recognizes it as such. No one goes, oh, Birthright is actually totally just for us to see the beautiful land of Israel and get a better understanding. Like, no, everybody understands what the fucking purpose is. It's a fucking breeding program. It's a way to try to honeypot people into fucking staying in Israel. I've talked to many people that have done Birthright. We've looked at documentaries like Israelism that feature this as well. Like, it's pretty obvious. Like, it's not an accident that you are accompanied by, you know, if you're a young Jewish boy, you get surrounded with IDF girls. If you're a young Jewish woman, you get surrounded by IDF men. It's on purpose.
Pilot, stay out of Kane's thermite residue. It causes heavy damage.
all sorts of its endeavors. There's no question that sometimes we...
I hear it works especially well on podcast co-hosts. I mean, I don't know if that was a success or not, because he still fucking hated Israel so much that he had to come back to California and bring his Israeli wife to California with him. And now he's become one of the worst propagandists for Israel, which, to be fair, is already not an easy endeavor. He not only did a reverse birthright, but became the fucking Michael Rappaport of YouTube.
have similar interests. Both the United States and Israel have a vested interest in preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons. There's no question about that. But on all sorts of issues, like the Palestinian issue and like the question of attacking Iran, America's national interest is at odds with Israel's national interest. There's no way that Iran is a threat to the United States.
Where'd you go, buddy?
It isn't. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, what is the relationship between the United States and Israel going to look like moving forward, especially with regard to ending this war?
Go?
It's quite clear that we're not going to win this war. That we're not going to cause regime change, and if anything, we're going to push Iran down the road to acquiring a nuclear weapon, and we may even be worse off once this war is over than we are now. And this is going to enrage the Israelis, and the Israelis are going to want to go back at Iran, and the United States is not going to want to do this again. So one can posit a scenario where U.S.-Israeli relations are frayed in serious ways at the end of this conflict. I can't say that will happen for sure. Who knows for sure how this war will end? But the way things are going now, one can tell a story where the Israelis and the Americans end up at loggerheads at the end of the conflict.
It sounds like you're saying that you...
Inshallah. NPR wrote this about you in a China Maxing article. What? Yeah, brought to you by Ilana Glazer and Jacobs does an episode on Birthright and how messed up it is through comedic commentary and entertainment. I remember watching it at the time and being so shocked that like an American comedy show was piecing that shit up aggressively too.
But so this is taking so long. I might split this into 2 parts.
Why haven't NATO attacked Iran after Turkey got hit? Let's just say
Avoid any tools of thermite. They cause heavy damage.
let's just say this about some of the weird targets that Iran has targeted that's not going along with the consistent pattern. Let's just say there are strange targets that Iran may or may not have targeted. Now, I won't say that about Turkey because Turkey does have an American base. But there is one that's always stood out for me. The Omani refinery that was a drone strike. I just always found that to be very strange that Iran did that. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that Iran did that. I'll just say it out loud. Israel did that. That's what I think, okay? Speak plainly, big dog. I'm too stupid for subterfuge. I think that Iran is not striking randomly at places like Oman or expanding its targets to places like Turkey. I think there's another party involved here that wants to make it more difficult for Iran to continue pummeling their little country the size of New Jersey. I'm saying it's Israel, okay? Now that might change, but I think you'll know if it's Iran doing it, they'll say it. They'll tell you why. People are like, why are you hitting civilian buildings, for example? Iran's been hitting civilian buildings in the Gulf. They say it out loud. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, who wants to be like Arakshi but can't be like Arakshi. We also spoke with my Iranian counterpart after the latest incident. They, again, do not claim responsibility for the event and say they did not give any such order and have no connection with such an attack. Of course, There's also technical data available. We are frankly discussing with them the contradiction between their statements and the reality.
Görüştük, haberleştik. Yine kendileri bu olayı sahiplenmiyorlar. Böyle bir konu talimatını vermediklerini, böyle bir saldırıyla ilişkilerin olmadıklarını söylüyorlar. Tabii yerde de teknik veriler var, başka konular var. Biz bu arasındaki beyan ve gerçeklik arasındaki zıtlığı açıkçası kendileriyle konuşuyoruz. Farklı düzeylerde, askeri düzeyde, bizim düzeyimizde bunlar şu anda konuşuluyor. İranlı meslektaşımla
All I'm saying is they've been calm as a fucking cucumber in the process. If Iran was just like, if Iran, a country with a border
I can do this.
to Turkey,
I can do this.
was randomly
Never mind.
just like lobbing missiles at Turkey, I feel like Turkey would not be as chill about it.
Let's get this party started, scrub.
And no, these aren't drones either. The ones that hit Turkey weren't drones. The ones that hit Oman were drones. The ones that hit Turkey were not drones. They were munitions, ballistic missiles. Hassan, they did hit their own fucking civilian plane before, so don't put too much faith in their competence with these things. True. This is also true. Also, the mosaic structure implies that there are uncontrollable elements as well. So there's a range of different options here of like what could have taken place. You could have a rogue missile launcher, like a rogue commander just being like, "Fuck Turkey." You know what I mean? Because it's not directed by a centralized command structure as it stands currently, at least as far as we know. You could have yeah, a Kurdish IRGC commander being like, "Yo, fuck Turkey." No, I'm kidding. They'd be the last guys to do that because they don't want Turkish military to come into the Kurdish region because the Kurdish region is the bordering region to Turkey. IRGC got Armenian commanders? Yes, they do actually. Yes, Iran is a very diverse country. There are Armenians, there are Azeri people in Iran, there are Turks in Iran, there are Kurds in Iran, and yes, all of them also are in the IRGC and the military as well.
Oh, I just kind of screwed myself.
Motherfucker, if there's a Georgian general, Turkey is fucked. A Georgian general.
First floor ready. First floor activated.
It just doesn't really make a lot of sense for Iran at this stage in the conflict to like expand its targets for no fucking reason, especially to a country that has a standing military. Who can even trigger Article 5 in NATO, which, you know, Turkey probably wouldn't, I don't think, but, or the rest of the countries would not follow along, or maybe they would use that to pull the entirety of NATO into the conflict, you know what I mean? Like, it's way too chaotic for Iran to do such a thing. The Azerbaijan one might be just a warning, you know? But then again, I don't know. Would you advise people cancel future travel trips to the region, including Turkey? To Turkey? No. What do you mean? All the Iranians that are like escaping Iran fly out of Turkey.
Kane is in control. Kane's always in
What part of Turkey are you flying to?
Don't ever forget that, scrub.
I wouldn't suggest you fly to Adana, but I don't think any fucking tourists are going to Adana, right? Imagine. What's going on? I'm an American from Kentucky, and I heard about Adonai. I would like to go to Adonai. I heard they got Cuba Day is what they call it. The Iranians call it Cuba Day. Turkish people call it Adonai kebab. The only Americans that go to Adana because the Incirlik base is there, okay? Every American dreams of going to Beşiktaş, which is in Istanbul, so you're fine.
Oh shit.
First floor ready.
It's me! Come on!
unstable.
Wait, they got kubide in Adana? Yes, kubide is the Persian version of Adana kebab. Or Antep kebab. Or Urfa kebab. Okay? Those are the three kebab capitals. But when we say kebab, we mean like the minced meat that's like long. We also have köfte. Okay, which also kind of is like the same as a kebab almost, but it's ground meat. Anyway, all right, whatever. What the fuck am I talking about? All right. IRGC said that it launched liquid and solid fuel missiles at Al Qasr Air Base in central Saudi Arabia, south of Riyadh. This is where they also hit the 5 American Strato tankers and I think disabled them. The IRGC said the base where the F-35 and F-16 fighter jets of the U.S. terrorist regime are armed and also hosts refueling tankers and AWACS aircraft. IRGC, the destruction and pinpoint drones of the IRGC Aerospace Force are identifying the hiding places of terrorist USA Army soldiers in the area. People in the area are requested to stay away from the hiding places of American soldiers. Israel from earlier, yeah. Does Iran still have factories building the drones, or are they bombed? Yes, they do. Their factories, the overwhelming majority of the production capabilities are underground. They do have buildings, like they have standing buildings above ground, and America blows those things up all the time. And I'm sure some of those like hold some of the materials and shit like that. But most of the facilities are underground. Well, not most of them, but there's a decent amount of facilities that are underground. You were right, they do sound like lawnmowers. Yeah, I mean, it's not a very complex machine. Does Iran still have Tomahawk factories? Yeah, famously, the Tomahawk that they used on the Mina school was the Iranian Tomahawk. Not complex. Let's see you make one, buddy. Brother, are you trying to get me in the crosshairs of the federal government? We already went through this last week when these motherfuckers were like, I was talking about how drone warfare has dramatically changed the way that like wars are, the commercial availability of drones have dramatically changed the way that people conduct wars and have rendered suicide bombing totally unnecessary, a relic of the past. And famously, Canary Mission and all these other like pro-Israel ops were trying to make it seem like I was in favor of I was educating my audience on how to use drones to do suicide bombing missions or something. Fucking idiots.
The US is not going to achieve its goals in this war. What did you mean by that? And let's remind ourselves, what are the real objectives here? They keep changing. Is it nuclear rollback, regime change, regional dominance? Is it a coherent story of what the goals are?
Well, the story that the administration tells is not coherent because they bounce around from one rationale to another. But the main goal here, for sure, is regime change. Because if you don't get regime change, if you don't put a regime in place that is subservient to the United States and the Israelis, then you can't get Iran to give up its nuclear enrichment capability, you can't get Iran to give up its ballistic missiles, and you can't get Iran to stop supporting the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah. To achieve those particular goals, you need a new regime that will cooperate with the United States and Israel. The administration thought that it could achieve that end, the end of regime change, by decapitating the regime early in the conflict. Well, it decapitated the regime, and the regime remains intact. Now it's punishing the Iranian population. It's hitting all sorts of targets across Iran. And you have to ask yourself whether or not you think this punishment campaign that's now in place is going to produce regime change. And the historical record tells us very clearly that a punishment campaign executed by air power alone has never succeeded in producing regime change. This tells you there is no reason to think that we're going to get regime change in this case with air power alone. We're going to have to put boots on the ground as we did in Iraq if we want regime change. And we're not going to put boots on the ground. So I don't see how we end up winning this war, and I don't see anybody who can tell a plausible story about how we get fair.
Damn.
All right.
3 members of the Iran's women's football team who sought asylum in Australia have decided to return to Iran, leaving only 3 of the 7 players who initially asked for protection to remain in Australia.
Cool.
35 players.